It was pouring rain. It was cold. The clouds were hanging low. There was lots of mud. It didn't look like a very exciting time of year. But I was excited. I was happy. Wintertime in the rain, in the mud, with the clouds day after day, having to put on all my raincoats and my mud boots was fun. It was because it was wintertime when our sheep had their baby lambs. And so I looked forward to winter. I would count the weeks until it was the first possible day that the mama sheep could have her babies. And one of my favorite things to play in wintertime with my sheep in the barn was Mary and Joseph and baby Jesus. I thought it was a perfect place to play. Oh, I always had to be Mary, and my mama had to be Joseph because I had no brothers. And so Mama had to be Joseph, and I had to be Mary. That was for sure. I always scolded my mom for a long while why she didn't name me Mary, because I thought that was the best name any girl could possibly have. And we would play in the hayloft in the barn with all the little lambs and the sheep nearby. I loved my sheep so very much. I remember it was starting to get towards spring. All the sheep had their baby lambs, and each lamb had their own name. Each mama sheep had their own name. In fact, I could listen and I could tell you which sheep it was that was baying. I knew them by name. I knew their voice. And of course, they all knew when the shepherd was coming. When the slightest rattle of the gate, they would all come running. So I loved each one of my sheep a lot. And it was getting towards spring. The little lambs were enjoying the few rays of sunshine after the rain had subsided. The leaves were still dripping, and I was looking out the kitchen window at my sheep down in the pasture, and they were peacefully grazing. When all of a sudden, I saw their heads look up from the grass. They looked around, their eyes got big, and they began to run. I knew something was wrong. So as I looked with big eyes out the kitchen window, watching my sheep run across the pasture, I saw what was behind them. It was two big brown dogs that were chasing them, and they weren't our dogs. Dogs were chasing my sheep, and unable to check themselves in the corner of the pasture next to the bridge where they had no place to go but a cliff down to the river, I saw them disappear over the cliff into the river. And I screamed, "Dogs, dogs," as I was slipping on my boots, and away I was running over to the corner of the pasture. And Mommy and Daddy, wherever they were, they had heard me scream "dogs." They knew it was serious, and they were following not far behind. I looked over the cliff just in time to see the sheep with their big wool coats struggling to get out of the water onto the rock ledge. My sheep needed to be rescued. And we set in operation a rescue effort with ropes and harnesses and everything we could gather quickly to hoist our sheep back up that cliff to safety. The problem was the enemy, the dogs, had gotten away. And my sheep were no more safe now than they were before, because those dogs would be back. So do you know what I decided to do? Oh, I prayed for them, but I needed to take some action with those prayers, didn't I? And so I decided that I wasn't going to sleep in my bed. I wasn't going to stay in the house at night because those dogs might be back anytime, day or night. And they needed someone to protect them, those sheep. And so I slept in the hayloft of the barn all night, waking up with the slightest movement or sound, wondering if those dogs were going to try to scale the gates and get inside the barn to kill more of my sheep. That's just a little tiny picture of what Jesus did. He left his home in heaven. He left his bed. He left everything comfortable. Of course, I guess he probably didn't need a bed in heaven, did he? Because he probably didn't sleep at all. But you know what I mean. That's comfort. That's coziness. That's warmth. That's what we look forward to. He left everything comfortable and pleasant. He came down and was born in a stable to save us, lost sheep. That's a lot of love, isn't it? That's the love of Jesus, our most wonderful shepherd. Let's tell Jesus we want to love him more, and we always want to follow him. You can go back to your seats.